At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
Hey, today on CityCast Philly, over the years, I've loved to stay connected with childhood friends on social media. And one of my friends is Natasha Cammey, a woman who grew up in West Philly surrounded by basketball. Natasha now is a college referee. She does women's Division I games around the country. And earlier this month, I got a notification that she made history. She was part of the first ever all-Black woman referee crew for the Missouri Valley Conference Final. Not only does she have hopes to ref in the Final Four for Women's March Madness this year, she's also an entrepreneur who's training other referees. So I had to catch up with her face to face at my kitchen table. It's Tuesday, March 25th. I'm Trinae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. People don't know this, but you are the only person on this planet that I will let call me Trey.
Oh, no way.
I hate when people call me Trey, but you Natasha Cammey, you can call me Trey.
We all called you Trey.
No, only you. Only you.
Wow. I'm honored and also surprised.
People don't know this, but we go way back into time.
Way back.
Did I know that you loved basketball when we were kids? Yes. But to see you now wearing the official gray shirt, because it's not white and black stripes. It's like a gray.
Gray and black with a little bit of blue trim.
Yeah. As an official NCAA Division I official, it's just like, wow.
Yeah.
You played basketball at Archbishop Carroll High School, went to Widener University. You played in the Under Armour League team. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So we had a Philly team for AAU, and we did DPL. That was the only Black female team at the time in the city. And shout out to Mike Horsey, who started the team up, and we played in maybe 12 to 15. There's some ballers on that team. Ballers for sure.
12 to 15. What do you mean?
Years
Player?
old. 12
years old. Okay, so when you were a kid.
Yeah,
cool.
for sure.
It was called the Comets?
Well, I also played for the Comets too.
Okay.
So I started my AU journey with the Comets, and then I transferred over to DBL, which was a Black-owned team. So it was sick.
Philly is a basketball city.
Yeah, man.
And everyone in your family played, right?
Oh, yeah. My mom, my grandma, my cousins. I came out. You knew how much I loved basketball. We all played basketball, for sure.
And so how did a West Philly girl who grew up around basketball, playing basketball, end up on national television?
I know. It's crazy, huh? It's a little weird, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I'm rewatching my games on TV at home. I'm like, oh yeah, that's me. Or I see a replay on Instagram. I'm like, that looks familiar. Oh, that's me. So it's definitely different for sure. I mean, honestly, Trey, man, don't anyone else call her Trey. Honestly, Trey, it's crazy. I was playing basketball at Widener, and my grandma was refereeing at the time.
Your grandma was refereeing your game?
AAU games.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She wasn't to the college level, but she was refereeing. And so typical, begging her for money every weekend, Friday on the dot, 3:00. Hey, $200 at me, hook me up. And maybe about the sixth time, kind of ran dry a little bit. And so she said, hey, I'm doing this thing called refereeing. You should try it. I said, Grandma, everyone hates the refs. That's absolutely out. There's no way. She's like, how about you try it? And then if you hate it, then we'll do something else. I said, okay. She's like, but you're going to have to earn this money. I was like, okay, fine. So she gave me her uniform, big pants, big shirt, horrible black shoes. I'm talking about horrible. You think about orthopedics, they were the worst ones you've ever seen. I'm like, bet. I don't care. Give me the money. Okay.
Right.
And so it was $30 a game. I had 8 games on a Sunday. It was like little people ball. I was like, this is great. I just walk up and down the court. Maybe I'm a little hungover from Saturday. We good. You know what I mean? I make my money back. This is a win-win, And so how officiating normally works is that if you have somebody who's young or new, not even just young, but newer to officiating, it's such a small group of people. They're like, oh, can you do a game on Wednesday? We have a older league, on that day. Or, we have a CYO game on Thursday. You start picking up gigs left and right.
Pickup games,
yeah.
but for refs.
Yeah, for refs, exactly. So, I just met my other refs that I was there with. And obviously being a player and being young and a woman, they were like, this is great. You can resonate with other people. So I started picking up gigs left and right. And then I was doing a league that I was actually playing in. So I would play in the league. It was like a post-college league. And then I would referee on the nights that I wasn't working, which was obviously, you can examine like how weird that was. But that's how desperate they were for officials. And I worked with someone who was a college basketball official. And they were like, you're not that bad, but you don't care. I was like, yeah, I'm just trying to make ends meet here. This is a great gig, keeps me in shape. I do love it, but I don't really know what I'm doing. And she said, people will do this for a living. And I was like, you mean like not a 9 to 5? She was like, yeah. She said, I worked at Temple last night. At the time, I made $2,100. I was like, what? I said, that's like my entire year's rent. I was like,
for one game?
For one game. I said, at Temple down the street? I said, hey, bro. Where the papers at? You know what I mean? Because for me, I'm like, this is life-changing, right? And so obviously it took me much longer than the next day to get to Temple. But the point is that I could see it now, right? Now I have a vision. Now I have an opportunity. I started doing numbers. I'm like, man, if I get 6 or 7 Temple games, like I can get a car. You know what I mean? Like I'm putting things together where I'm like, okay, this could be a situation where maybe I don't go to communication broadcasting. I can do this on the side, or I can do this real time. And so I went into banking right out of college, and I worked for Wells Fargo, did business banking for about 5 years. And then, my schedule started picking up. So how it typically works is, if you try out for college, like, Division III, Division II, your games are on the weekends and they're at night. And so for the bank, I need to be at the game by 5:30. We close at 5. And so I kept running into issues where maybe I didn't do weekdays, but weekends we closed at, I think we were at like 2 on Saturdays. So the games are normally at 1. So now I'm running into an issue where I'm like, I got to decide between which one's more important. And so my friend at the time was running a nonprofit in tech. They needed a director of the nonprofit. And so she offered me the job as a way for me to give more flexibility. So this is like before remote was remote. Mm-hmm. So it was allowing me to kind of like dictate my schedule. I did the trainings in the morning, but I could leave at a certain time, or I could set my meetings up to be at a certain time, but it gave me the flexibility. But I basically was going like full time. And so this allowed me to do higher games, better games. I got into Division I, which was awesome. So my first conference was the A10. So like schools like St. Joe's, Fordham, George Mason, VCU, all those schools. I got in the Patriot League. Like one of my first games was in the American University. My very, very, very first game was at LaSalle. And I had there must have been, 40 people in the stands at the time, and 20 of them were my people. So it was like, I brought the house down with Philly folks. Actually, my mom just sent me the picture of my first game in my grandmom's pants with my shirt.
You got to send us that picture.
I'm not sending you that. No. And she's like, look how far you've come, right? So, because I just worked Big 12 final a couple weeks ago. So she was just like, this is incredible. To your point, like, how did you end up on TV? And so then even with that nonprofit job, I ran into a situation where my games are further now, right? Because now I'm getting into...
Now you're traveling all over the country.
Yeah. So now I'm in the Big East. So now I got to go to Butler, now I got to go to Marquette, and these are during the week. And so to not take away from the young people that I was helping manage, I didn't feel like it was right to only give them half of me, even less than half sometimes. So I had to go full time, and I was really, really nervous, as you can imagine, because now with officiating, you're 1099, and so you're your own business, but there's no 401k, there's no insurance, there's none of that.
So how'd you navigate all or learn about just how to protect yourself and get insurance and pay taxes?
Yeah. So I spent that year before I left asking every veteran official I worked with, what are they doing, right? Okay, it's set up a SEP 401k that's specific to small businesses. Okay, boom, I need to set that up. Okay, who's the insurance company that you guys use? Okay, they connected me with that guy. I connected with him, got set up. How did you budget your money? Like, how much do you budget for? And how do you factor out your expenses? And is there a certain, if I was an LLC, do I need to set up an S corp? Like all these different tax differentials based off of the income. I just spent like literally every game being like, I'm gonna drive with you to the game, but I'm gonna ask these questions. I'm gonna do the research. I'm gonna write this down, and I'm gonna compare it to what I actually have and what I'm doing. And does that make the most sense? And then I could go full time, and they may not even give me more games. So like, there's no guarantee every year that you're gonna get a certain amount of games. You have to earn those games every year, and you have to not screw up the games you have this year, so that next year you get the same amount, if not more. And so, and then my bosses at the time were changing, right? So the consolidation of the conferences, also we had consolidation of the bosses as well. So like, if you think about like how the Big 12 or the Big 10 or SEC have added schools, law schools, same thing with conferences. So they condensed to just one person. So like, let's say the ACC person had just the ACC. Well, now they have the A10, the Big East. So I don't work for several different people. I work for one person for those several conferences. So at the time, I was not new, but newer. I didn't have an idea of if those people were going to still use me, like maybe the one guy who was using me in the NEC or the Ivy. Right now, I have to hopefully hope this one wants to use me in the same conference for the same games, and I'm going full time. So I'm like, man, I'm just gonna have to pray to God and hope that He covers me, because this is what I really want to do. I remember exactly where I was. I called my grandma on my porch. I think I was living in Bryn Mawr or Chester, maybe, really still out of college. And I called her. I said, I think I want to go full time. And she's like, well, what's your hesitation? I said, well, my mommy thinks I'm freaking crazy. She's like, why are you giving up this great job? You're insane. And I'm like, I know. I said, I'm like literally in tears. I'm like, I really want to do this, but I'm just scared. I'm scared out of my mind. And she was like, well, do you think that you'd be able to get your job back at Wells Fargo? I said, yeah. She said, do you think the nonprofit would hire you back? I said, absolutely. She said, then go, jump, take a chance on yourself. If you feel that this is the best thing for you, take the jump. Thankfully and prayerfully, it worked out, and God had made a way for me. But, just obviously trying to stay true to my job and be as excellent as I can be, and making the right decisions and trying to do the right thing every time has really allowed me to be in rooms and spaces that have been successful. But, it's one of those journeys where it's not going to work out for everybody, but there's a level of success you can have. It's like when you train to be a basketball player. If you shoot 100 shots a day, you're going to start making shots, right? So if you train every day with this job, where in regards to watching film, learning the rules, understanding mechanics, working on communication skills, realizing what your body language exudes when you're in difficult situations, because that's how people are reading you and communicating with you. If you work on those things, you can be excellent. But if you just kind of wing it, then that's the result that you get. And so that's what I love most about this job. It reminds me of being a player, where how much work I put in is how much work I get back. And it's really hard to deny when someone's that good. Even if you have a new boss or a new area, if you're good, you're going to get used, period. So I don't want to say I woke up and I was on TV, because that's definitely not how it feels. But, I had some opportunities where I thought I should have got and I didn't get, and even, as of, last year, there were some opportunities I thought I would get and I didn't get. So, nothing's ever guaranteed. I'm hopeful that this year, I end up in Tampa on the floor as a Final Four official, finally. But you know what? It's in God's hands. And so I'm going to do everything I can to perform at my best and keep performing at the highest level, and hope that that's enough.
More on this story after the break.
I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby, and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does, without me lifting a finger. So I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit. 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
This episode is brought to you by Prime Video. In the small town of Holland, Michigan, nothing is ever what it seems. Behind the tulip festivals and pretty houses lay dark secrets that threaten to tear a marriage apart. Nicole Kidman stars in this darkly twisted thriller about a wife and mother whose quest to uncover her husband's secrets may get her more than she bargained for. Holland, streaming on Prime Video March 27th.
So this past weekend, you were covering some of the March Madness tournament.
Yep.
And it's kind of like exciting because you don't know where you're going to be placed.
Yes. So we're like the players. So when they do what's it called? March Madness announcements of locations, referees are sitting there too, like, shoot, where am I going to go? Right? Because, because I cover so many conferences and schools, I had an opportunity to go really anywhere. Right? Because before, when the conferences were just like 18 teams or 12 teams, it's like, okay, well, the Big Ten only has 14 schools. Well, now they have 18 schools, right? The Big 12 only had, 14 schools. Well, now they have 16 schools. So now if 12 of those schools are hosting, that's 12 different locations I could go to, right? Plus the SEC, which I did the tournament for. So, they have, 18 schools. So, it ends up being like I could go to 20 sites. So I'm looking at it, with my friend, like, okay, you think you're going to Durham? I don't know. You think you're going to go to Texas? I don't know. So we're kind of on the edge of our seat too, to like see what the matchups are, see what if we've had them before, and then where are we going to go. So when they announce it on Sunday night, we find out Monday morning where we're going to go. And then we have obviously an all-staff meeting, a congratulatory meeting from the NCAA for being selected, which is obviously something that you want to be a part of. And then we don't find out our assignments until the day before. And then you don't find out if you're moving on to the next round until after that game. And so we're very much like the teams, like player go home. So it's our own little personal March Madness. I had a game, Missouri Valley final, and the coach says, "Congratulations, do you get bonus for this?" I said, "No." I get the recognition of doing this final. I said, but there is no, +1 or anything like that. But obviously this is something that you aspire for. So March Madness is just as madness for us and my family, because they don't know if my season's ending or if it's continuing. I don't know if it's ending or continuing. But I guess that's the part of it, the chaoticness that you love about it,
So coaching wasn't an option?
Heck no.
Why
Heck
not?
No. I mean, listen. So I used to run these camps called Future Stars. So I did that for like 7 summers. I did it every summer, and it was a sleepaway summer camp. This is way before AAU. And so this was like the team camp that everyone would go to for a week. And so I would do it for 6 weeks. Okay. And I had a coach. And as the world would turn, the young ladies got more and more difficult to interact with because we have cell phones, we have social media, we have all that. So I saw it like before we had phones to, okay, here's a cell phone, you put it in your bag. Okay, you can't tell them that they can't use their cell phone. Okay, now they have to use social media. And I'm like, hey, bro, I'm not going to fight with you and this cell phone and these selfies. Like, I'm old school. That's how I was coached. I don't have the temperament. I don't have the understanding of how you don't understand levels of communication, how to interact with people. Like, those are not things that I specialize in, especially not with more than one person, 12 of them. And even in a collegiate format with NIL, people leave every year, sometimes mid-year. I'm too loyal to the system and to the process that I don't know how I would handle that, right? Knowing a kid is in the portal right as I'm talking to them about a game. Like, those type of things just don't sit right with me. And I enjoy going, doing my job, not caring who wins, and taking my butt the heck home, right?
So I was going to ask, you're still around student athletes,
for sure,
young
yes.
folks who are, trying to figure out their adulthood. They're trying to figure out this national stage that they're playing on and hopes to get to the WNBA.
Yep.
So in any way, do you get to kind of mold them or, pull them to the side and say, hey, calm that attitude down, or hey, you're doing a good job. I don't know, because you still have to be neutral,
right? For sure. I can't speak for anyone else. I can only speak for myself. But, I've seen some of our more recent greater athletes, right? Like the Reeses, like the Clarks, Juju. Yeah, I've had her several times this year. But, just the progression, right? When I think about Reese and Clark, I saw Reese when she was at Maryland because I was in the Big Ten, going into the SEC because I'm in the SEC. I saw Clark when she was the freshman star guard from Iowa coming in, but no one in the greater scheme knew who she was. We had Boston, Aaliyah Boston at the SEC, in South Carolina, saw her evolution, right? And so, we are in intimate quarters with them, but we're almost adversarial because we make calls and decisions that maybe they don't necessarily agree with, right? A prime example, I had a game in the Big Ten, and Clark was at the game because her team was playing. And, she's giving me a little bit of business on the sideline. I made a little contact with her, like, hey, now you know who I am, so we not And we were good, right? But that's how we've always been, right? Where she tests the line, I come back at her, and then we cool out, right? But that's just my personality. And so, I think about players that I've just seen, on the grand stage and even on the smaller stage, it's like, because I try to be a human with them and check in with them on either team. I think that for me and my experience with them, it is kind of still a nurturing environment. It's still about as close to a coach as you're going to get in regards of like, hey, are you good? You need a moment? You need a timeout? Do you feel okay? Like just checking in on them on like a human aspect. When the year continues or I see them year after year, they dab me, hey, Miss Rob, I noticed your song. Like we have all those things, or they're excited to see me or whatever the case may be. And I think that, I hope from the coach's perspective, they can see that I care about their girls. So I'm not going to just be frivolous in my decision making or even the way that I talk to them. It's because I care about them. Obviously, I see myself in them, and I love the game so much. I want them to be protected in all the ways, but I also just want them to do whatever they need to do to win. So be fair, score, don't score, I don't care, but just be kind to one another, respect one another, right? Respect me and my partners. If you have a question, more than happy to answer, but don't yell at me, right? I had a game last week. Young lady yelled about a call my partner called. I said, hey, are you yelling at me? She's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry for yelling at you. I'm like, it's cool, but you just gotta calm down. You just gotta calm down. Okay, all right, well, I didn't like the call. I said, that's better. If you didn't like the call, that's all that matters. Or, but we're not gonna scream, we're not gonna disrespect, because I wouldn't do that to you. And so, I think that they can reason with that and they see themselves in those responses. So I don't see anything wrong with that for sure.
I'm sure you hear a lot of, come on, Rev.
Oh, child.
What was that call? You got glasses?
Child. These are PC responses.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's nothing.
A lot of taunting from the fans.
Oh, for sure. And I let them go as far as a fan should go. But if it starts to get personal, I will address it directly, for sure. I mean, that's the Philly in me, right? Where I'm like, all right now, we ain't doing that.
So
right?
Who do you address? Like,
if I can feel and see where it is, like I'll stop and hold the ball and say, I'm not sure who this is, but that's enough.
Okay.
Right? You've crossed the line. Okay. Now we move on. Okay. Now we go. You try to test it again. Okay. Now we're stopping the game and we're going to, I know everybody knows who it is. So we're going to figure out who that person, they got to get out of here. Right. So this is my like, hey, you want to be a fan? That's fine. But you're not going to personally attack me. You're not going to personally attack the girls. You're not going to call, a young lady fat. You're not going to make fun of her religion. You're not going to make fun of her sexuality. We're not doing none of that. Okay. We can be a fan, but we're not going across the line personally. And so if you're going to do that, you're going to have to leave. And there's really just no wiggle on that. So I have no problem I've addressed the band before. And the band's like, oh.
The band?
Right here at Temple. I said, hey, bro, we ain't doing that.
What did they do?
They're like, oh, Miss Rap, we sorry. I said, hey, bro, hey.
Like they were ultimate fanning?
Yes.
Like ultimate fanning meaning like.
They were giving the opposing team the business.
Yeah.
And they went a little too far. And I said, now see, and it went too far.
Not the band.
The band. No one's left. You don't disrespect the players. You don't disrespect us, period. You could be a fan. You can cheer. You can boo. I don't like that call, whatever. But you're not going to personally attack them. You're not going to call them fat. You're not going to call them ugly. You're not going to say I wouldn't date you. Like, that's inappropriate.
More on this story after the break.
Lowe's knows what makes SpringFest savings even better are member-only doorbuster deals. Right now, rewards members can save $40 on an Allen & Roth Chesler Gold faucet. Was $99, now $59. Plus, save $110 on a Cobalt 40-volt battery trimmer and blower combo kit. Was $279, now $169. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 3/24 while supplies last. Program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
How do you stay grounded with your mental health with
Sure.
all of this? Like you're getting stuff from the coaches, the players, the fans.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I carry my Bible with me all year, right? So I'm heavy in the Word, especially in playoff time, because my patience is thinner than thin. and I am worn out in regards of just all of my quick fixes and putting out fires. Now I need the word even stronger because y'all gonna get the other side. And so to keep my professionalism and keep myself grounded, I just remember that I should fear nothing and that God always has me. And so who shall I fear? No one. Right? And so if that's the case, then let people walk in their purpose, let them do what they do and keep my boundary lines and know that that's okay to have boundaries and honor them, And so, I have a great family life. My wife and daughter are silly and sometimes nagging, but it's only because they love me and they want me to come home. But, when I'm home, I'm with them. We're having a good time. Me and my daughter listen to Smash, Boom, Bash, whatever podcasts in the mornings. Last night we had a little dance party. Those are the things I look forward to. And then, my friends check in on me. They FaceTime me at the worst times. I'm in the locker room. Yeah. I just want to know. I'm like, no one cares about any of my time and boundaries, which I love. And I have, about 2 or 3 friends in the business that I can kind of vent to and spend time with. So kind of regroups me and really centers me. But I just try to keep everything in perspective. It's just a basketball game. I know everyone's winning and I'm trying to earn money and all those things, but I wish we were curing cancer. I wish we were stopping malaria. I wish we were, solving world peace, but we're not. And so in the grand scheme of things, it's not that deep, right?
But you are nurturing talents of
Sure.
other refs through
Absolutely.
Referee Ready Academy,
Yes.
which is an organization that trains officials and helps them stand out and stay on top of their game.
Yep.
What exactly is this training?
Yeah, for sure. So we have year-round training online. It's online-based training. We also have in-person events. So we actually have one of our events coming up in April, 2 of them. One's going to be a networking event at the Final Four. So the first day is like a party, hang out at the bar, watch the games. If you can believe it, we like to go to the Final Four. So I wanted to create a space that would be safe for us. So we rented out a bar for them. For all of our members and people who want to come and just check out the game and hang out, have some food, just chill, right? And then Saturday will be more of professional development. We have a mental health expert coming in, Dr. Gunter. She works with the Celtics in the NBA, and so she's going to come in and give us some great tools and tricks to kind of recenter ourselves, put ourselves first, really be able to kind of give a space for us to kind of share some things that didn't work out for us or things that we wish we could do better, better communication tools. So that'll be the first part of the day. And then the second part of the day will be some panelists. So we have actually the LaSalle coaches come in to speak to talk about the communication with coaches and just what he sees in younger refs and how they can kind of communicate better with him and be more believable. We have some commentators coming as well so that they can discuss how we can communicate better with them in regards of when we have a play, we have a decision, what are they looking for from us in order to be clear in that so that they can express that on TV? Because obviously, if they make it seem like we don't know what we're doing, then everyone at home does, right? So how do we bridge the gap of that communication? And then, prayerfully, when I'm there for the Final Four working, it would be great to have that crew that just worked the Final Four come in and then talk about that experience of what it's like to work on such a big stage and share that with younger officials who are aspiring to hopefully get on that stage as well. So that's one of the events that we're doing. And then the second one is our training camp. And so the training camp is designed to help officials go into these tryout camps and get picked up. So what happens now is that you go to a tryout camp and you show up and you hope that you get hired. Right? You may not be prepared. You may not know how to look, dress, walk, talk, whatever, but you just show up. So these camps are anywhere between $550 a camp. They're normally not in locations that you live, right? So you spend probably low end $1,500 in a weekend, right? And so you go, but you have no chance of getting picked up because you don't really know how to perform at a tryout camp. And so my wife actually brought this up. It was like, you keep complaining that no one knows what they're doing. What are you doing to help them know what they're doing?
And that's why you started Referee
I said, well,
Ready.
There you go. You nailed that. So that's what we do. So our training camps are designed to prepare people for the tryout camps and get them ready to do the best that they can at those tryout camps. The last 3 years we've had camps and we've had a 60% interest rate in regards of people getting picked up from going to our camps. So maybe they came in, they had no shot of getting picked up. They got picked up in new high school leagues, Division III, Division II, Division I leagues because they had the proper training from our camps. So we're really, really excited about that. That's going to be in Orlando this year.
All right. Are you getting picked for the Final Four?
Ciao.
Do you know?
It's God's plan.
Well, how far in the tournament are you going to go?
As far as God will have me. I don't know. I mean, last few years I've done Sweet 16 or Elite 8. So, obviously, prayerfully, the season that I've had this year, I worked 3 A4 tournaments, which is very rare. So I worked 2 games in the Big Ten, 2 games in the SEC, and the final in the Big 12. So I can tell you right now, there's not many officials that did that this year, if not any. So just don't mean to toot my own horn, but I am one of one this year. So I would hope that I would be there, but it's not up to me. It's up to my performance that I do in this tournament, and obviously if it's my turn to go.
Natasha, are you a history maker?
I am, and did. Yes, my last game at Missouri Valley was the first time they had all Black officials, women officials on the final. So that was most recently a mile marker and a history-making moment that we had. So it was a great experience. We knew the history that we were going to make, and kind of an emotional thing before and after the game. We wanted to make sure that we did the game really well, too, so that it happens again multiple times, and that they can happen in other conferences as well, especially since 90% of the time the players look like us on the floor. So, why not be able to see themselves in every aspect of the game? And so to be able to kind of be the trailblazer for that and the forefront of that, even if it's just a small part, it's a smaller conference, we aspire for that to be, an SEC game, a Big 12 game, doing a whole Final Four that way, right? A few years ago they had all diverse women's official group on the final, which was amazing, right? But, we shouldn't still be doing first in 2025. There's enough of us who are qualified, who want to do this job, who are doing the job at a very high level. You have plenty of people to pick from. I'm just hoping that this encourages the people who make those decisions on who aspires to do the games and who assigns the games, that this is possible and it can be done.
Do you aspire to officiate a WNBA game or an NBA game?
I do not.
So you want to stay on the collegiate level?
I love the collegiate level. Just like you talked about a little bit earlier, the young adults, that's my sweet spot, right? I really, really appreciate the novelty of being able to communicate with a young adult and really be able to help them see themselves. And there's just a difference between when you're a pro and when you're an amateur, although it's getting away from that. The youthfulness of being a young adult and being someone who's 28 and been grinding for a long time. I know how I am now at 36, 37. I'm not the same as I was at 22. And I think that there's value in that, and there's value in me in that space. And I really am proud of being a top-level college women's basketball official. I don't think that I need to be a pro official to be the best. I know I'm the best at what I do. So, yeah.
I love that positivity. What storylines or teams or players should we be watching during this March Madness NCAA women's basketball tournament?
Man, there's so many storylines. I mean, if you just looked at the last couple weeks in the conference finals, there were teams that surprised people. There were teams that you thought should have been doing better. I think I saw a story today on one of the young ladies from Harvard who, had a tumultuous upbringing, but, was able to score 44 points in her semifinal and then carry her team to a final.
Oh, you're talking about Harmony Turner.
Shout out to her, right? You think about any of the smaller schools that had to get to the tournament, they've been grinding just to get there.
Those Cinderella teams.
Cinderella teams, for sure. You think about a team that was number one. We had 7 or 8 different number one teams this year for top 25. So any of those teams could come up and be in the Final Four. So, it's just, I think this year, they always talk about the parity, but this year, I'm like, one of my friends is like, how do I do a bracket? I don't freaking know. I don't care who wins. So, look it up, right? So I gave her some articles where people were pushing storylines, and I said, you know what? This year is the hardest year for parity because, all the teams could win on any night. I think that's what I love about my job is that, I get to be a part of just a history-making year for women's basketball where, we don't care what the outcome is, but it can really be anything. And I think for a fan's perspective, that's such a great thing to watch because you're watching women work at a really high level and it's anybody's game, which I think everybody wants to do, So good luck to those people who do those things. But I think just if you're a fan of women's basketball, you're really, really going to love the tournament this year. It's going to be great.
Natasha, thank you so much for being here on CityCast Philly.
Yes, Trey, it was good to see you.
We don't know just yet which teams are advancing to the Final Four in Tampa, Florida, but the 2 national semifinal games will be played on April 4th, and the championship game will be played on April 6th. That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. If you enjoyed my chat with Natasha about her career as a NCAA Division I ref, tell a friend about this episode. Rate the show, leave us a review, and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter, Hey Philly, to learn more about what else Philly's talking about. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye.
I was like, can we do a virtual? You're like, no, I like in person. I was like, everybody clean the house.
It's so much better. It's so much better. I do so many virtuals. I'm like, nah.